All right. So we're going to start with the warm-up. There are 4 questions on this one, so I'll present it, give you guys a couple minutes to try these out like we normally do. Alrighty. Can you guys see this Friday 5? Not what I meant to say. The warm-up. It's not a Friday 5.
Yeah.
All right. So for number 1, you can buy 3 apples at Quick Mart for $1.35. And then you can buy 5 apples at Stop and Save for $2.35. Which place has a better deal? So these are unit rates. You're trying to figure out who has a better deal if you're buying 1 apple. Okay. Number 2, if 14,148 is divided by 27 and the answer is already given to you with 524, what does the 2 represent? Number 3, you're going to add those decimals. And then number 4, finding the GCF of 96 and 32. So I will give you guys some time to work on that. You want some music?
Yeah.
All right. About 4 more minutes. About 2 minutes left. Alrighty. Let's go ahead and go over these ones. These 4 problems. So I'm going to stop presenting so it's not backwards. Okay, how does this look? It's super high. How about that? Good? Can you see it all?
Yeah.
Alright. Let's start with number 1. There are two stores. You can go to Quick Mart or you can go to Stop and Save. You want to figure out which one you're going to spend less money for apples at. How do I do that? How do I figure out how much one apple costs?
By dividing 3 by 135.
Yep, we're going to divide first. So let's start with Quick Mart. I'm just going to do this Quick Mart. We're going to take the amount of money we spend on the apples, $1.35, and divide it by the number of apples we are buying. So, sorry, this is a little bit small. Is it too small? Can you guys see it? We're good?
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay. So when we're dividing our decimals, there's no decimal to move in the outside number, so we're just going to bring our decimals straight up on this one. 3 does not go into 1, but how many times does 3 go into 13? 3 into 13, how many times? 3 times what?
4. 4.
4. We subtract 12. We get 1, and then we can drop down our 5. So now we need to see how many times does 3 go into 15?
5.
5 times, I heard someone say it. So we subtract and get 0. So at Quick Mart, an apple costs 45 cents. What about Stop and Save? Let's do that one. We're taking the amount of money, $2.35, and dividing it by the number of apples we're buying, which is 5. Again, we have no decimal to move on the outside, so that means our decimal on the inside just goes straight up. 5 does not go into 2, but how many times does it go into 23?
4.
4. We subtract and get 35. Now when you drop down your 5. Now how many times does 5 go into 35?
7.
7. Subtract and get 0. So if you go to Stop and Save, you're going to spend 47 cents per apple. So where would you go if you want a cheaper apple?
You'd go to the one where it sells 3 apples for $1 and
Yeah, you want to go where it costs less money, which is Quick Mart. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Good. All right. Number 2 here talks about, turn up the sound a little bit. We did this, or they did this division problem for you and got the answer 524. They want to know what the 2 represents. So we know it's in the tens place. So if there's 2 tens, what is the number it represents? 2 tens.
It represents 20.
20. Because it's in the 10 spot, so it represents the number 20. There are two 10s. 2 times 10. 20. Good. Number 3, we're adding some decimals. When I add decimals, what do I need to do with them? When you add or subtract, what do?
You have to line the decimals up.
Line them up. Good. Okay. Before I can add, though, what should I put in this place?
The placeholder 0.
Good. Our placeholder 0. Now we have 0 plus 5 is?
5.
5. 5 plus 8 is?
13.
13. Carry your 1. We can drop our decimals straight down. Then we have 1 plus 8 plus 2.
11.
11. Carry your 1. And then 1 plus 1 is?
2.
Good. So 21 and 35 hundredths is our answer there. How you guys doing so far? Good? Bad?
Good.
Doing pretty good?
Yeah.
All right. And our last one, number 4, is finding the GCF, the greatest common factor. So the biggest number that both 96 and 32 have in common if you were to list the factors. Easiest way to do that is to make our factor trees. So what numbers multiply into 96?
12 and 8.
Good, 12 and 8. Okay, let's stick with the 12 first. What numbers now multiply into 12?
6 and 2.
6 and 2, good. So we can circle the 2. And then what numbers go into 6?
3 and 2.
3 and 2. We can circle those ones. So that part is done. What about 8? What numbers go into 8?
4 and 2.
4 and 2. We know we can circle 2, but what numbers go into 4?
2, 2.
2 and 2. Good. Okay, now what about 32? What numbers multiply to 32?
8
4 and 8.
4 times 8. And neither of those are prime, so we can't circle them. So now what numbers go into 4?
2, 2.
2 and 2.
Good. 2 and 2. Okay, we can circle those. Those are prime. What about 8? What numbers multiply into 8?
4 and 2.
4 and 2? Good. Circle 2, but now again, what goes into 4?
2 and 2.
Good. Okay, so we have our prime factorizations. To find our GCF and our LCM, we can do our matchy-matchy part. Remember, the LCM goes on top. The GCF goes on the bottom. I'm going to put the numbers for 96 on the top row first. So we have a 3, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. Okay, we got all those. Now we need to match, right? Is there a 2 that we can match?
Yes.
Yep, right here. Okay, what about another 2?
Yes.
Yep. And another one?
Yep.
What about another one?
Yep.
And the last one?
Yep.
Yep, we can match them all. And now we have nothing left over. We just matched everything. How do I find the GCF? What do I need to do with all these 2's?
Multiply.
Multiply. So we need to do 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2.
32.
What do you get?
32.
32. So the greatest common factor, the number that goes into both 32 and 96, that's the biggest, is 32. Because 32 goes it goes into 32 one time. And then 32 also goes into 96 3 times. All right. There's our warm-up for the day. How'd you guys do overall? Pretty good?
Miss Jones, do we have a quiz today?
Yep.
No quiz today.
What about quizzes?
No, we'll do quizzes on Wednesday.
Okay.
Today we're just going to do quite a few practice problems of what we're doing. So I'm going to present my screen. We're going to talk through, I'll probably do one at a time actually. These notes that I'm going to show you right now are on Schoology as well. So if you ever need them, that's where they are. So these we're going to convert between fractions, decimals, and percent. Let me erase what's behind me really quick so I can use the board. So there are ways to go back and forth between all of them. So if I give you a fraction, we're going to learn how to change that fraction into a decimal that's equivalent or equal, and we're going to learn how to change it to a percent that is equal. So all of these conversions means that it's a different way to write the same number. So if I have the number 1/2, writing that as a decimal is 0.5, and writing that as a percent is 50%. So going from decimal to percent to fraction, fraction to percent, all of the different things we can do with these. So we're going to learn each different way. There's 6 of them. So we're going to go from decimal to fraction first. We'll talk about it. Then we'll talk about decimal to a percent and how to change that to that. Then we're going to talk about how to go from percent to decimal, percent to fraction. Then we're going to talk about fraction to percent, and fraction to decimal. So there's 6 different ways we're going to learn here. Charlie, did you get it to work? Is he
I
there?
just logged out and logged back in.
So you're good now?
Yeah, but
Okay.
I wasn't able to see it earlier.
Oh, sorry. I don't know why that would happen. Technology's fun, huh? So I'm going to zoom in a little bit. Let's start with decimal to fraction. So it tells us right here to go from a decimal to fraction, you're going to move the decimal 2 places to the right and then divide by 100 or put it over 100. So this decimal starts off with 0.25 or 25 hundredths. We are going to take that decimal, move it 2 places to the right. So 2 place values, 1, 2, and then we're going to put that number that we get over 100 and then simplify. You have to simplify at the end as well. Anytime you see a fraction now, you should always think, can I simplify my answer? So keep that in mind. So we're going to do a few practice problems with decimal to fraction. We're not going to go on to decimal to percent just yet. So move the decimal 2 places to the right, put it over 100. Write that up.
Will it always be over 100?
Yes, it'll always be over 100. Because if I'll do an example.
What if it's like 125? Then will it still be over 100?
Yep, I'll show you an example of that.
Well, would you still have to simplify?
Yep. So move decimal 2 places to the right. And then put it over 100. And simplify. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the whiteboard and let's do 3 examples. Okay. Okay, let's stay out of the chat for now, guys. Please and thank you. Okay, so I put the little steps up here. First, step 1, move the decimal 2 places to the right. Step 2, put it over 100 and simplify. So let's say our decimal is 75 hundredths. Can you guys see this? We're good?
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay, so 75 hundredths.
No, I
First
can't.
thing you do is move the decimal 2 places to the right. So we have our decimal. We're going to move it 2 times. 1, 2. Our new number is 75. Okay? You can have the decimal at the end if you want, but you don't have to. It's a whole number now. So we don't need our decimal here. So that was our first step. Move the decimal 2 places to the right. Then we need to put it over 100. So you literally just draw a line and put it over 100. There's a fraction. Now that we have that fraction, we need to simplify it. So we need to go about what number goes into both 75 and 100.
Wait, so wouldn't you make it into a percent now?
No, we're not going to a percent yet. We're just changing it from decimal to a fraction first.
Okay.
Decimal to fraction first. So
Sorry, I wasn't paying attention.
that's all right. So we have our decimal first, moved it twice, put it over 100. So technically we have it as a fraction right now. We have done the job of putting it as a fraction, but now that you're in 6th grade, you should always simplify your fractions if you can. So what numbers can go into both 75 and 100?
25 or 15.
25.
5
Yeah.
can.
Yeah, 15 doesn't go into 100, so let's stick with
1
20.
can.
You can do 5 as well. You're just going to have to do multiple steps of simplifying. So you can do it by 5 if you need to at first. But if you can see that 25 goes in, might as well use it, right? So what is
it'll be 50 over 75.
Huh?
It'll
Or
be
dividing?
Yeah, it'd be 50 over 75. I mean, yeah, over 75.
You're
Because
subtracting.
oh,
We need to divide. 75 divided by 25.
3.
3.
3 and over 4.
Yeah, 100 divided by 25.
If we were subtracting, I would have got the right answer.
Yeah, but we got to make sure we're dividing on that part. When we simplify, we divide, right? So now we have a simplified fraction. So if we need to go from 75 hundredths to a fraction, it's 3/4. So 75 hundredths equals 3/4. They're the same thing. They mean the same number. It's just different ways of writing them. And we use this kind of a lot as we go through the school year. That's why we talk about it. And it's really helpful for later in life too on a lot of different things. So let's do 2 more examples here. Let's start with, let's see. Let's start with the decimal of 40 hundredths. What's the first step I need to do?
You need to make it a fraction.
How do I do that though? What do I need to do first?
Move the decimal.
Move the decimal 2 places to the right. So 1, 2. So our new number is 40. Is it important that I have the 0 here?
Yes.
Yeah, in this case it is.
Make it a number.
Yeah, it would be much different. The number 40 is much different than the number 4. So you need to make sure you keep that 0 there. These are much, much different numbers. So keep that 0 on there. Now that we have our decimal moved, what's step 2?
You have to make it a fraction.
Yep, that's when you put it over 100. So now we have 40 over 100. We need to just simplify our fraction now. We have a fraction, just have to simplify. So what number goes into both 40 and 100?
5.
5 goes into both, good. So let's do 5.
Wait, no, 10 would be better.
We can do 10 too, but let's start with 5.
Okay.
So what is 40 divided by 5?
I can't really see it.
8.
8. This is as big as I can make it, Charlie. Something has to happen on your end.
You can put there. So if you go onto our screen,
I pinned it to my just.
There we go.
That was way too loud for me.
So, this is as big as I can make it, Charlie. I don't know how to make it any bigger for you. I'm sorry.
maybe try zooming in on the side, or the 3 dots, or zoom in.
Maybe, yeah. So we're simplifying our fraction, right? 40 divided by 5 is 8. What's 100 divided by 5?
20.
20. Good. So now we have 8/20ths. This can still be simplified a little bit more. What number goes into 8 and 20?
4.
4.
4. Okay, so let's divide this one by 4. 8 divided by 4 is
2.
2.
And then 4.
20 divided by 4.
1.
5. 2/5. Can I simplify 2/5 any farther?
Nope.
No.
Nope. So if we want to go from 40 hundredths, a decimal, and change it to a fraction, you're going to get 2/5 as your answer. Okay? Do we want to do one more, or should we go on to the next one?
Go on to the next one.
Yeah, we actually don't have a ton of time. So we're going to go on to the next one because we're going to run out of time. If we do 3, we'll do 2 for each one. And we're going to practice this all week. This is the only thing we're doing this week is going over these things.
So there's no assignment for it?
Not today or tomorrow, but you will.
Have one on
Or
Wednesday.
Wednesday.
So Thursday and Friday you'll have one?
Yeah, Thursday and Friday.
Okay.
So our next one, decimal to percent. This time, the steps on there are actually a lot harder than it needs to be. Decimal to percent, it says to multiply by 100. But when you multiply something by 100, all you're doing is taking the decimal and moving it 2 spaces to the right. So really, when you're going from decimal to percent, all you're doing is moving the decimal 2 places and adding a percent sign. Let me write it down. All right, so if we look at this one, our example here, it says multiply by 100. So they took 25 hundredths, they multiplied it by 100, and they got 25. And then they added the percent sign here. The easier way to do this, you don't even have to multiply by 100, because when you multiply something by 100, all you're doing is taking that decimal and moving it 2 times to the right, and you've created a percent. So decimal to percent and percent to decimal are probably the easiest ones, because all you're doing is moving your decimal, and that's it. Okay. Do we have any questions on that one? We're going to do a few examples, but.
No. Are we doing the percent now?
No, we're just going to go from decimal to percent. We're going to do 2 examples on the whiteboard really quick.
Okay.
Okay, so let's do that's terrible 80. Let's say we have 8200. Sorry, that was a really bad 8, but I don't feel like erasing it. 8200. The first step is to move your decimal 2 places to the right. So you're going to take your decimal and move it 2 times. So now you have the number 82, because it's a whole number when you move it all the way over. Then add your percent sign, and you're done. 82% is the same thing as 82 hundredths.
That's it?
That's it for decimal to percent. Super easy, right?
We might can do 3 of those.
We probably will. So let's do, let's say I have the decimal 0.125. So this time I have 3 numbers in my decimal, right?
It'll be 125%.
You're on the right track, but you moved the decimal too many times.
Oh.
You still only move it 2 places. No matter what, always move it twice. So we have 2 places. So we actually have 12 and 5/10. So this is possible. You can have a decimal that just is a percent as well.
So it'll be 12.5%.
Yep. So that's a possibility. That can always happen as well. Let's see.
Wait, so any number that's 3 digits will not be like a normal one, like a 2-digit number?
No, it won't be a whole number. You'll just have a decimal in your percent. Totally possible.
Okay.
Okay. Let's look at another one that is similar to that. Let's say we have the number 0.034. Okay, so we have 34 thousandths. We're still moving it twice. You don't move it any more than twice. So we're going to move it 2 times to the right. So now we have 0.4, and we still just add a percent sign. Done.
That's it?
3.4% this time. Yep.
Dang, that was fast. I did
That
that.
is-
And
The
one more?
decimal percent is super quick. The next one on that list, I'm not going to flip back over to it, because the next one, sorry, is going from a percent to a decimal. So you're taking, let's say we have 25%, and we're changing it to a decimal. So we just moved the decimal 2 places to the right to go from decimal to a percent. To go from the percent to a decimal, you just move it back to the left 2 places, and your decimal is right there. And you're done. That's it. So let's look a little closer at that one. But it's the exact opposite of the one we just did. So we just, let me present my screen. Hold up. Alrighty, so we just did decimal to percent where you literally just move it. The decimal goes 2 times to the right, 1, 2, add your percent sign. So that's it. To go to percent to decimal, they make it look a lot harder than it is. It says divide by the percent, or divide the percent by 100. But when you divide something by 100, you're just moving the decimal 2 places to the left instead of the right. So you start at 25%. The decimal is after the 5. You're going to move it 2 places to the left. 1, 2, and it ends up in front of the 2, which is where you get the 0.25. 25 hundredths. So percent to decimal is the exact opposite. You just move it 2 places to the left instead. Does that make sense? Yes, no, doing all right?
Yeah.
Percent to decimal. You're going to move it 2 places to the left. Okay, moving it 2 places to the left. So let's do a couple of examples on this one. So this time, let's say we have the percent. It really doesn't matter. Let's do 65%. So we start off with 65%. To change this from a percent to a decimal, all you need to do is move your decimal 2 places to the left. But when you look at this, I don't see a decimal in 65%. Where is the decimal in that number?
It would be before this.
Well, before we even move a decimal, where would it be? If this is a whole number, 65 is a whole number, like acting like the percent isn't even there. Where is your decimal?
Behind?
Yeah. Behind the 5. When you go from percent to decimal, the percent sign basically just goes away, and you have a whole number, 65. Then you need to move the decimal 2 places to the left. 1, 2, and you're done. 65 hundredths would be your answer there. You moved it twice to the left. Make a little bit of sense?
A little bit.
A little bit. Let's try another one then. Let's do.
It's kind of hard, Olivia.
I know this is not an easy standard. That's why we're going to spend the whole week on just doing these conversions. So the next one we have 20%. Kind of the first step you can do is just to get rid of the percent. You won't need it after you're done with this. Then we need to make sure we add our decimal in. The decimal is at the end of a whole number. And then do I move it to the right or do I move it to the left?
To the left 2 times.
To the left 2 times.
Wait, so even if it's a whole number, the decimal, like if you still had a decimal behind that number, it would still be a whole number?
Yeah.
So it doesn't really mean anything then.
No. Not too much. So we moved it twice and we got 20 hundredths. Do I need this 0 on this one if it's a decimal?
Yes.
You could, but you don't have to. This isn't one. You could, having no 0 there, so 0.2 is the same thing as having 0.20. Right? Do another one. Let's try, let's do 125%. So that one, this one's greater than 1, right? 125 is bigger than 100. On this one, your decimal is still at the end of the whole number, whether or not you have a percent. Decimal is still at the end. You can get rid of your percent. You don't need it anymore. We need to move our decimal 2 places to the left. Where does it end up?
Behind the 1.
Good. In between the 1 and the 2, right? So if we were to rewrite it, we would get 1 and 25 hundredths as a decimal. Okay? That would be percent to decimal, just moving it 2 times to the left. And our next one, So we're gonna kind of go pretty quick here through the
Questions, on my side, you're kind of like glitching, so I can't barely even hear what you're saying sometimes.
You might have to rewatch later then.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry. Gotta love technology, right? Okay, so now let's talk about percent of fraction. I'm going to present again and we'll go look at that one. All right, percent of fraction. This one again is kind of simple-ish. There's only a one step on this one, so right here in the middle, percent of fraction. You're just going to divide your percent by 100 or put it over 100. So you basically get rid of the percent sign, put the number over 100 to create a fraction, and then simplify. So in this case, 25 over 100, they got rid of the percent sign. So they were left with 25. And then they put the number over 100 to create a fraction. And then they would just need to simplify after this. It simplifies to 1/4, just so you know. So that's percent of fraction.
Easy to do.
That one is a little bit easy. Yeah, let me write those steps. Remove percent sign. And then put, not plot, put over 100 and simplify. So let's go ahead and go back to the whiteboard and do a couple of examples on this one.
Okay.
Okay, so in this one, first thing you're going to do is remove the percent sign. Second thing, put the number over 100, simplify it. So let's say we have 30%. Okay, we're starting off with 30%. What's my first step I need to do here?
You have to put the decimal behind the 0.
Well, we're not talking about decimals anymore. Now we're going from percent to fraction.
Oh. Then you just put then you have to. Wait, wouldn't you just have to put 100 under it?
Yep. What you're going to do, start off by just getting rid of the percent sign. You won't need it anymore. It's not a percent anymore. And you're going to put the number over 100. So remove the percent sign first, put the number over 100, and now we need to simplify our fraction that we got. Okay.
You did 10 over 3.
Not 10 over 3, but you're on our track.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, 10 and, as I just said, I just was thinking of the...
Yep, so we need to simplify. So the number that goes into both of these, 30 and 100, is 10. So 30 divided by 10.
Oh, I kind of did just say the answer.
A little
but
bit. What's 30 divided by 10?
the wrong way around.
Jones,
Yeah.
is there such thing as a decimal percentage?
Yeah, we did that one earlier, right? With 12.5%.
Okay.
Yeah, you can get those answers. Yep. So now let's finish simplifying this. What's 30 divided by 10?
3
3. And 100 divided by 10?
is 10.
10. So now we have 3/10. Can I simplify that any further?
No,
No.
you can't.
Nope. So 30% is the same as saying 3/10. Sorry, choking on my granola bar from earlier. Everything's fine. Okay, let's do a couple more problems like this one. Let's take 15%. That sounds nice and easy. 15%. So we have 15% of something. First step is to remove our percent sign. Literally just remove it. Get rid of it. Erase it. Don't need it. What's my second step? What am I going to do with that number now? Number 2 on the board.
So you take the percent away, then you have to put 100 under it.
Good. Put it over 100. And now we just need to simplify. What number goes into both 15 and 100?
one's kind of hard. 5.
5 goes into both. Good.
I was trying to think of the biggest one that would both go into it.
5 is the biggest one. 15 divided by 5 is
3.
3. And then what's 100 divided by 5? 20. 3/20ths. Nothing else is in it. This is as far as that one will simplify. 3 and 20. 3/20ths. Okay. Let's go look at the next one. I think we're on the fractions, our last two. Fraction to decimal and fraction to percent. So let me go ahead and present. All right, so this one, fraction to percent and fraction to decimal. I think it's actually easier to talk about fraction to decimal first, and then we'll talk about fraction to percent. So fraction to decimal is just dividing. You're just going to divide. You're going to take your numerator, the top, and divide it by the denominator, the bottom. So in this case, 1 divided by 4. And basically, you have to add your decimals and your zeros to your division problem, and it creates a decimal for you. So the fraction to decimal. So the first thing you do is divide top by bottom. Well, that's the only step. There's only one step in this one. Divide the top divided by the bottom. Okay. So let's do a couple of these problems. I think this is one that's the hardest for you guys. So let's just start with 1/2. Okay. So we have the number 1/2, the fraction, right? Because we're going from fraction to decimal. We have the number 1/2, this is our fraction. We need to change it to a decimal by taking the top number and dividing it by the bottom. So taking our 1, dividing it by 2. We know that 2 does not go into 1. 2 is bigger. It doesn't fit, correct?
Yep.
Okay, so then what we need to do
Is add 2 zeros.
Add our own decimals and zeros. If you're going to add your decimal, you got to make sure you bring it up to the top 2. So now, does 2 go into 10?
Yes, 5 times.
5 times. And it goes in evenly. So 1/2 is the same thing as saying 5/10. All you do is divide, and whatever decimal you get as your answer is your fraction as a decimal. Okay?
So anything like that, you always have to put a decimal?
Yeah, so if you have a whole number, like 2 divided by 1, and you can't do it, add a decimal and a 0, and you can start dividing there.
Okay.
If you have to add multiple zeros, that's totally fine too. Okay, let's do another one that I know gives you a couple extra decimals. Let's do 3/8. Okay, so if we start with the fraction 3/8, we're going to take the top number and divide it by the bottom. So we're going to take our 3, divide it by 8. Does 8 go into 3?
No. So you put your decimal behind it.
Good, 8 does not go into 3, so we need to add a decimal and a 0. If I added a decimal, you have to make sure you bring it up so it fits, right? So you have your decimal. Does 8 go into 30 now?
Yeah.
How many times?
3.
3 times. We can subtract 24 and we get 6. 8 doesn't go into 6, but we're not completely done. You can keep adding zeros here. You can just keep adding as many zeros as you need to finish your decimal. So does 8 go into 60?
Yeah.
How many times?
7.
Good, it's 7. and you get 56. Subtract and get 4. And then let's add one last 0 because this finishes it out. Does 8 go into 40?
5 times.
5 times. So that means that 3/8, if you want to change it to a decimal, is really 375 thousandths. It's the same thing. They're equivalent numbers. This decimal is the same thing as writing this fraction. They're equivalent. They're equal.
What if you keep going, but you so you know how on some division problems and you get an answer, but it's like the wrong answer, so you add 2 zeros and you keep switching back and forth? What if you have one like that?
Then you can just probably stop after a couple times you see it repeating and just write whatever answer you get before it starts repeating.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. So that was fraction to decimal. The cool thing about fraction to decimal and fraction to percent is that in order to go from a fraction to a percent, so if we change this to a percent, right? Fraction to percent, you're going to do the same process. You're going to do the top, your numerator, you're going to divide it by the denominator. You're still going to do that. The second step then is just to move the decimal 2 places to the right. Okay, so fraction to percent, you're just adding one more step like you were doing fraction to decimal. So you start off by dividing the numerator divided by the denominator. And then once you get your decimal as an answer, you move your decimal 2 places to the right, add your percent sign, and there's your answer. Okay. So if we go look at the thingy that we started on, we're almost done. This is the last one, and then I'll let you guys go. All right, so if we look at fraction to percent, the steps here say divide the numerator, which is the top, divided by the denominator, the bottom, and then multiply it by 100. And like I said, when you multiply by 100, you're really just moving the decimal 2 places to the right. And then you just need to add a percent sign. So basically, they divide, they divided 25 over 100, and they got 0.25. Then they moved the decimal 2 places to the right, got 25, and added a percent sign. So we're going to do this one. We'll do it twice on the board really quick. And then I shall let you go. If we were in person, we'd make a foldable. I like the foldables. It's so nice. Let's do 4/5. That's a good one. Here's our fraction. 4/5. We need to change it to a percent. First step, we need to divide the numerator by the denominator. So we need to take 4 and divide it by 5. But like we just talked about, does 5 go into 4?
No.
Nope.
But it can go into 40.
Okay, so we need to add our decimal and our 0 to make it 40. But don't forget to move your decimal straight up. How many times does 5 go into 40?
8.
8 times. Okay, and when we subtract, so now we end up with this decimal of 0.8, right? So we end up with this decimal. But step 2 is to take your decimal and move it 2 places to the right. So we're going to take this decimal that we got and move it 1, 2 times. What do I need to add in this place value to hold the place?
A 0.
A 0. So we end up with the number 80, and we can add our percent, 80%. So on this one, the fun thing about fraction to percent is you go from a fraction to a decimal to a percent. You have to do all 3 on that process.
It's kind of weird.
It is. But if we were to write this, we could say that 4/5 equals 8/10, and it also equals 80%. Those are all equivalent. They all equal the same amount of a number. Okay. Let's do one more. Okay. Let's see. What's a good one? Let's just do 3/4. Let's just start with 3/4. Okay. 3/fraction 3/4. We kind of already talked about this one. We need to first divide the numerator into the denominator. So 3 divided by 4. Again, cannot do it. So we need to add a decimal and a 0 and bring up your decimal. Now we can do our division. Does 4 go into 30?
Yeah.
How
7
many
times.
Good. 7 times. So 7 times 4 is 28. Subtract and get 2. Since we have a remainder, let's bring down a 0 and see what we get.
Probably the only one that would work as an improper fraction
Yeah.
without doing a decimal.
Right. You are correct. Yep. So now does 4 go into 20?
5 times.
5 times. And it goes in evenly, so we're good. So now we have this decimal of 0.75. Okay, so we divided and got a decimal. Now we need to take our decimal and make it a percent by moving our decimal 2 places to the right. So we're going to take this decimal and go 1, 2. We end up with the number 75. Add your percent sign, 75%. Okay, we're going to practice this a lot more, so if it's like really not clicking, that's okay. We're going to do it tomorrow.
Miss Jones, I'm gonna have to go.
That's fine.
We're gonna be going to lunch.
Okay, sounds good. So that's actually all we're going to do today anyway. I did not take attendance yet, so stay on for like 2 minutes so I can just grab attendance and then I'll let you go. So that was who just left? Yoshi and Jada, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and then let me check my attendance and then you'll be good to go.
Okay.
So like I said, you guys will be good. We're going to work on this for a few days. So if you're like really like, holy crap, that was a lot of information, I don't know what to do with all of that, we're going to work on it. And
I
get
kind
you-
of get it.
That's good. You guys have these notes as well. So if you want to like try a few practice ones on your own or look things up, you're more than welcome to. I would never tell you to not try things on your own. So almost there. Hang on. Okay. Okay. Attendance is good. We're good. You guys
Yeah.
can go ahead and head out, and I will see you at social studies at 12:30.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.